I'm Austin.
And I'm Cloud.
And this is We Watch Spookies.
Today's movie is Children of the Corn. Children of the Corn is a 1984 supernatural horror film directed by Fritz Kirch, starring Peter Horton and Linda Hamilton. How about synopsis?
So there's a town. They grow corn, and then a dude who looks like a kid, but I'm pretty sure is supposed to be an adult, starts a weird cult thing of corn and tells all of the kids to murder their parents and the adults, except for a guy who works on stuff outside of the town. And they make sacrifices, and if you turn 19 you have to die. And then two people show up, and they're not exactly smart, and they foil the whole plan and light the corn on fire.
They do. They light the corn on fire. Hey, look, a Stephen King story that's not in Maine.
Ha ha!
That's not fair. He just has a lot of stories in Maine. Not all of them are, of course. But this one is not. This one is in Nebraska, where there's lots and lots of corn. Although they actually shot it in Iowa, where there's also lots and lots of corn. Why would you not just go to Nebraska? Like, if you're already going to Iowa, why not just go to Nebraska? Like, why not? It's not like, well, it's supposed to be in Nebraska, but we really shot it in California, which they did parts of it for, like, interiors and stuff, I think. But all the outside stuff is really Iowa. So, I really like this beginning part. With them, like, well, not the beginning part where, like, everybody gets killed. Although I do have notes about that because there's, like, knives hidden in pinball machines and, like, a kid that doesn't know how to drink a milkshake.
Wait a minute. How did he not know how to drink a milkshake?
Because he gets a milkshake. He orders a milkshake.
Yeah.
He gets a milkshake, takes the straw out, sets it over here, and then just, like, sticks it in his mouth. Like, the whole glass. Like, he just puts it up to his mouth and is just like, I'm gonna eat this milkshake. Never mind drinking it.
I mean, like, as long as he's not trying to shove it up his ass and say he's drinking it, like, I'm not gonna bother the kid about how he chooses to consume the milkshake. My issue is just like, oh yeah, like them poisoning the coffee. I'd be like, all right, that's slick.
Yeah.
That's slick.
It's
unfortunately the girl who poisons the coffee. No, definitely more like Jesus. It's so dumb. It's just. Like, she already looks like she about 30.
I mean, they don't actually die by the coffee, though. The coffee just, like, makes them kind of sick so that then they can be killed with various sharp objects.
Then it was a waste!
It did seem like a waste because it does feel like, well, the parents and
they already
other
blitzkrieged
adults,
them.
yeah, they're not expecting to be murdered by the children of the town, so they're not fighting back, they're not prepared. If you just, like... I mean, they wouldn't have been able to pull the knife out of the pinball machine and, like, menacingly walk over there. They would have just had to have gotten to it. But I think they probably could. Well, but also, that's just the people in the diner. That's not everybody else.
Yeah, like, what about everybody? Like,
they should have poisoned the coffee at the church.
Yeah.
Because everybody in town goes to the church. Because, like, the kids are crazy and have this, like, weird alternate religion thing going on. But, like, the town itself has, like, a whole lot of going to church going on as it is, of a somewhat more ordinary kind, at least it seems like. Something I did like in the very beginning, though, is, although it gets a little weird later when there's a lot more of it of various kinds, there's a fair amount of like POV kind of shots in this
Yeah.
And like I like the one at the beginning where the kid is standing next to the dad who's like shaking the preacher's hand, and we see from the kid's point of view, and he's like looking up at the dad, and like the adults seem really tall, which is what like it feels like when you're a kid, and it's hard to like it, just like kneeling down or something doesn't really recreate it the way that it feels when you're a kid and like everybody's taller than you. And so like that was kind of a neat thing. Some of the rest of the time later when there's POVs of things, it's like, oh, we're still doing this, like we're running through the corn and like first person and like looking up at things, and it's weird other times, but I like that time. But what I mean when I say I like the opening, I like the once all that's done and then we're in the present time and they're driving in the car and like they keep there's like we know that Gatlin is bad because we've seen the 3 years ago part. They don't know. They're just like frustrated by the like only cornness of Nebraska. And also like in the story, like the original short story, they're like having really bad marriage problems, and so they're like angry at each other for that, and they're not really talking, and they don't really have that here. So there's a different kind of tension, but just like we keep getting these signs where it's like this many miles to Gatlin, and it's like counting. For us, it's like a countdown until they get there and bad things start happening to them. And like I liked the like building intensity of that.
Well, see, I had a few issues with several things that started. Like once the couple show up, I almost feel like this is the downhill spiral for me.
Well, after they asked the guy, after they get lost in the corn in the car and come back to where they already were, like that's where it starts to go downhill for me, I think.
No, but well, okay, so here's the damn thing. All right, so my first problem is whenever they like the kid steps out and they hit him. Because one, I don't like that whole we're not paying attention to the road, so something happens while we're not paying attention to the road. Like I don't like that kind of stuff. I think it's sloppy. And then they hit him, and I can understand being panicked because you just hit a kid. But then, like, as a doctor, after he hits him and he notices that the kid's been cut up, like, okay, this kid probably survived a murder to just not survive in the end.
Yeah.
And so, at this point, that's a huge red flag. And this guy should be, like, on edge constantly.
Well, he is to a point. He is kind of like looking around.
That's the problem. That's the problem. Is because he stops, and it like all it is like, oh well, I'm gonna go out here, and I luckily I have my tire iron, and I end up finding the briefcase, and then it's just like after he finds the briefcase, it's just like I want to report a murder as quick as possible, and I'm just gonna ignore every other suspicious or bad thing that could potentially happen, and it's just like, bruh, you about dumb. You about dumb. Because that's the thing, is like there's somebody out here who has attacked this child. You have now witnessed that this child has died, and as a physician in your position, you know that this kid was attacked. Yes. So you want to report it. I can understand this. You run into a guy who's literally told you, do not go here. It is not good. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit further. You'll want to go here.
Well, they do try.
Yeah.
And then, like, I don't know.
No, they don't listen to him. He tells them to go left. They go right. And they go right because of the sign.
Yeah.
But then after they go a little ways, they don't go, huh. All right, well, maybe we should go back and go the other direction. They go, oh, man, I can't believe somebody's been messing with these signs. We better just keep on going because we're lost. Like, well, yeah, how? I mean, you're still on the road.
They do have a little bit of a, we're still going towards Gatlin. We weren't supposed to be doing that according to the last sign.
Well, no, the thing is they get lost, and then he decides to go to Gatlin because it's closer.
Yeah.
And then, like, I kind of, we still deal with him ignoring every red flag that is thrown at him, like literally thrown at him like a bloody football. And then he makes the comment, well, things aren't just happening fast enough for me. And I'm like, someone kill this man. Like, this is a person who needs to die in the horror movies to prove, like, here is a behavior for when bad things happen. If you follow this behavior, you will live longer.
And it doesn't happen, is the thing.
No.
Like, none of the main, like, we're introduced to 2 protagonist characters at the beginning, and they're still alive by the end. Like, they both make it through. And, like, the only, like, the head kid of the cult is sacrificed, and the mechanic guy gets killed. Probably.
Yeah, he was killed. We see his body, like, laying on the ground.
And
I don't feel bad for him either, because he literally walked into that meat grinder. I know these kids are hiding and they killed my dog, but I'm too old and dumb to understand that this is a trap. I'm just going to walk right into it. Like, yeah, just let him die. I'm done with him.
I've got a tire iron here.
No, he's walking straight into a trap because he's being dumb. Stop it. Get some help.
I've never pulled it. I should have when we had, although I don't guess I did, because I don't seem to. But, like, I love that line in the Santa Claus where he goes to see the doctor when he's, like, really turning into Santa Claus, and, like, he's getting fat, and his beard keeps coming back, and he's complaining about it. It's what causes him to go to the doctor. The boss of the company says, get some help. Like, see a shrink, see a doctor, just get some help. And, I should pull that so we have it handy, because, like, people needing help comes up commonplace enough that we should have that, and I like it as a version of that being spoken. But I mean, he it's not fair that he gets killed, because he didn't tell them anything. He told them not to go close to town, which apparently is the deal that they have, because it seems like they need it. Well, I was confused as to what his purpose is, because the kids say later, now we don't have any way to get fuel because he's dead. Mm-hmm. But he didn't have any fuel.
No, he was saying he didn't have any fuel. That just because you say you don't have something doesn't mean you don't have it. He just wasn't going to sell it. It was just easier to say he doesn't have any.
But do the kids drive? Like,
I'm sure they use it for running the machines that water the corn.
Well, they don't use the gasohol.
Yeah.
Just sitting right there. Which is basically what gasoline is now. It's just a lower concentration form, because, like, gasohol is just a mixture of gasoline and ethanol, which is what we have.
Yeah.
We didn't back then. Back then, gas was just gas.
Lead.
Not by then. It wasn't. Not by '84. It wasn't.
Oh, okay.
But there was no alcohol in the gasoline normally.
So they killed him off, which I'm fine with.
I guess. I mean, they killed a dog first,
which is weird. I think that's the real problem, is the killing of the dog, because we see, like, the weird demon cloud thing above the corn, but we don't see anything happen in the corn. So I am not to believe that the demon killed the dog and then put the dog's body somewhere that could have been better found. It just seems like something malicious that the children did.
Yeah.
And so, I'm going to stick with, why kill the dog when you were just going to kill the man anyways? But the guy you had to deal with is already a red flag. Then you get to the town, and then there's no one there. So everything's quiet. So that's already weird. It's not a red flag yet. But when you pull into one of the areas, because you're like, oh, look, a diner. I'm sure they've got to have a phone. And you pull up, and you don't see anybody inside. And you walk in, and it's covered with corn husks. There's your red flag. You're not there to fuck around. Stop being like, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm hungry, and I'm going to make a decision because I'm hungry. Like, no.
You're
like,
not you and you're hungry.
I sense danger. I'm no longer hungry. Everybody's gone and all this corn husk stuff, and he picks up the phone, and, like, the phone's dead. And, normally by your second try of trying to do the phone, you'd think it's a bit odd.
Mm-hmm.
And then they notice the 3 kids. And the 3 kids are, like, screwing around in the car, and then they're going to chase him. And the lady it's like, leave them alone. They're just kids. And he's like, no, I want to talk to them. Like, okay, so one, not only are you ignoring red flags, but two, you're an idiot. Because they're running away from you, they're not going to talk to you.
Yeah, even if you catch them.
Yeah, they're kids. It's not like, oh, as an adult, I'm going to use my authority. Like, no, listen. They don't know you. All right? That's why it was
respecting your privacy by knocking, but asserting my authority as an adult by coming in anyway.
Exactly. And that's why it's like, as like, oh, I'm so intimidating, and then like the little girl has a hard time talking.
He's not
to him.
Intimidating.
Exactly, he's not.
He's not intimidating.
Like
which is good for his own purposes, because you don't want an intimidating doctor.
No,
but it's not good for getting information out of people who don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, he just does a lot of dumb stuff in areas that it does become more and more clear that maybe we shouldn't be here because something not right is happening.
Mm-hmm.
You know? And then it's just like, oh, well, I happen to see somebody in that house. Like, I don't care. I do not care. He's got a dead body in the trunk and he's trying to do a report. If no one's there to help, leave. Why didn't he try finding the police station? Since he was like, oh, I want to find it, but I'm going to find it on foot, so I'm going to leave you my car.
Uh-huh.
Why? This isn't Scooby-Doo. Quit splitting up the gang. Stop it. And then, like, I'd say the only thing, like, redeeming-wise for this character is that he got stabbed in the chest, and then he just pulls the knife out, and then he seems to be fine for, like, the rest of the movie. He's like, oh, like, I've been stabbed in the chest. I better put something on it. And he just like goes with his fingertips, and then it's like magic, like Dr. Pixie magic or something.
Well,
and
he's
then
a doctor.
There's some blood left on his shirt, and then he's just like, I'm fine for the rest of the movie. Here, let me wrestle this one kid like it's nothing.
He seems really not happy about having to be a doctor wherever it is that they're going. Like, it seems like they're moving to a place for him to be a doctor, and, like, it's in Nebraska or somewhere, I guess, and he's, like, not okay with not being in the city anymore. And he's going to have to get over that.
Yeah. Real fast.
Because you're still a doctor.
Yeah.
Which he does have moments where he just suddenly turns back into a doctor. Like, he realizes that the kid is murdered before they ran into him. And he realizes, I should do something about this wound in my chest.
Yeah.
And does.
Well, it's like, it's the conflict between being, like, book smart and being, like, street smart. Like, that's how I've always kind of grown up knowing it. Is you have those who are, like, really intelligent, like, information-wise, you know, like, learning things and adapting. And then you have, like, those who learn, like, common sense and, like, learn skills through practice, like your street smart stuff. And what we get to see is this guy who seems to know a lot, but has no idea how to apply it, therefore makes horrible decisions, but can notice things. So he's like, I noticed the kid was attacked. I noticed there's no one here, but I can't make a good decision based off of it. I know how to, like, patch myself up. I understand that this has to, like, spread alcohol so we can catch the corn on fire. Like, he's smart enough to know how to do these things, but he's bad at making the decisions once he's obtained the information.
I thought of Silent Hill during the early part of, once they come to the town and everything's empty and they're, like, roaming around looking at stuff. And at least in Silent Hill, they knew it was creepy.
Yeah.
And they tried to get out and discovered that you can't
could
get out.
Yeah, you can't get
and
out.
So, but they tried, like, pretty right away to get out, and it just wasn't happening. They don't try to get out, really.
No.
Until, like, the end.
Yeah.
And then after there's nothing to even get out, they're not even trying to get out. They're just getting out because there's nothing to do now because everybody's dead or the cult is over and the car is wrecked. And
I'd kill some kids. Like, without hesitation.
Which... everyone in the town is dead. There's got to be someone's car you can borrow. Because they're not going to need it.
Yeah. Well, like, that was one of the things is,
I mean,
where all the cars go.
I don't know. There aren't any cars parked on the street. The kid, like, they just killed everybody in the diner and wherever. And then I guess they must have driven them off someplace after. I mean, like you can be 18 and still be in the cult. So
yeah.
Which there does seem to be like an upper limit to the amount of time that this cult can go on, because if you kill everybody as they turn 18
They'll
or 19,
all
eventually
be
you're going
gone.
to kill everybody. You're not going to have any kids. So it's not really thinking far enough ahead. I mean, I know some of them are like 8 or something. So there's some time, but not forever.
No.
And if you kill, like, mechanic guy's not having a kid by himself.
Nope.
He's the only grown-up left around. That kid is a cheater at Monopoly. Like,
Yeah.
He's
Cheating hard.
He's really cheating hard.
1, 2, 3, 7.
Yeah.
Like, bro. Like, I saw that. You didn't see anything? Listen.
Yeah, I did.
I
did.
I'm gonna go tell Malachi, and Malachi will hit you with his sickle hand thing while going, I'm upset for no apparent reason.
Yeah, he does get upset. But because he's the enigmatic cult leader that just like flies off the handle from time to time.
Wait, I thought Malachi was the
Or what?
redheaded, freckled faced kid. The enforcer?
Oh yeah, Isaac.
Yeah.
Isaac is the leader guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. The
Like, I
enforcer.
punch Isaac so hard in the throat. and okay, so I thought he was supposed to be an adult.
Well, he's not he's 19. Like, he's about to die, probably.
No,
Or
I'm talking
18.
about Isaac, the
Isaac.
cult leader, who looks like a child.
Is he?
I thought he was supposed to be an adult because like the kids were talking about something about him
Does he
being
just have like a
a
disorder or something?
like a priest or something. And because
Well, no,
like
I think
other priests were talking about him doing something like,
Well, he is the priest of the cult.
yeah,
but
I'm talking about beforehand, because like we get that little monologue bit from the 8-year-old kid before like we see him and his sister in the house, and no, it was before they go get the milkshake, because it's the kid and the dad who's left church, and he's talking about Isaac.
Yeah, he says
He's talking about Isaac
he
being a
says
priest or whatever.
They don't like. Well, but I think it's from his point of view, because he says Dad doesn't like Isaac, which it seems much more likely that you would let your kid go and play with other kids than like some old priest dude in the cornfield. I mean, he doesn't let him go in any case anyway, but which is like, Dad is right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter because everybody gets murdered. Which they seem to have been, it's highly coordinated. They've been planning this for a while. Everybody just kind of like gives nods to each other and like, oh, it's time. But I don't know if that was like they woke up today knowing today is Murder the Grown-Ups Day, or if they were like waiting for the signal from Isaac, or what was happening. It does seem like he wasn't in on it, because he seems a little surprised and scared when everybody starts getting killed in the diner.
Yeah, but like he's so small. Like, what do you expect him to do anyways?
Yeah. So I guess maybe sometimes he gets to hang out in the cornfield with Isaac, but he doesn't know what all the plans are. Which there is, like, it's not just like Isaac is crazy or something. Like, there's a real like magic thing in the cornfield. Which is not really like a he who walks behind the rose. There's no walking happening.
No.
It's just some kind of like energy blobby thing. It doesn't walk anywhere. I think it is kind of a reference to like God walking in the garden in like Genesis and stuff. But it's not. In that case, it seems to have been like, hey, I'm God. I'm walking here. So, but this is not that.
It's not even close to walking. It's
There's
like
no walking.
it's like Graboids from Tremors, just like going underground.
Well, yeah, it's weird because it's underground and then it's like coming from above to kill. It's like, I'm not sure what it's up to exactly, or what it is. And I guess it dies by fire, maybe. Although I guess not, because there's like a bunch of sequels to this thing which I haven't seen. So I don't know if maybe it doesn't die in the fire or what. But there is kind of like the color of energy that it was kind of like mushroom cloud thing that happens as they run away. But then they leave, so we don't know what happens after that.
How do you mess up throwing a Molotov cocktail?
Yeah, well, he couldn't get it lit because it was real windy.
No,
because,
the kid told him to throw it right this time. Like, went and got it and brought it back to him and said, throw it right this time. And I'm just thinking, how did you mess this up? How? Oh, and that's something else. Okay, so personally, I carry a butane lighter on me, or a butane torch lighter, instead of like a normal Zippo or Bic lighter. So I don't have to worry about, oh, it's too windy, I can't light this. Like, no. If I want a fire, I'm about to make a fire. So,
I'm not sure if we had torch lighters.
Well, I'm just saying, like, I carry one now.
Yeah.
Well, I say now. I've been carrying it for...
Yeah, some time, but not since 84. So.
7 years, at least.
I know, I'm not sure. Not sure what the state of lighter tech was in 84.
It wasn't a block of magnesium and a striking rod. I'll tell you that.
The thing that torch lighters are not good for, though, is like waving them in the air at concerts.
Yeah,
because you can't really see them from a distance. Also, not good for that is Bic lighters, which people use for it commonly because you have to hold it down.
And they melt.
They melt, yeah.
They melt.
And even before it melts, it gets like hot holding it. So
because I've actually so back at my very
Zippo or something.
Yeah, at like my very, very, very first job, I worked in a tiny little grocery store, and this was because it was in Arkansas, and this was before they passed the law that prevented people from smoking inside of like public buildings and all that.
Mm-hmm. Clean Air Act.
And so like people were smoking in the back room all the time, and they would just leave their lighters on the table. So instead of people just stealing lighters, they would just be like, oh, okay, here, let's just throw all of them on the table. And on a good day, there'd be like 15 some odd lighters. And if there weren't lighters, there'd be like those strike anywhere matches. So anytime I'd be on break, I would like sit at this table and I would just like build stuff with the matches and light it on fire. So it's like no one noticed the smoke because you could see like just a haze of cigarette smoke in the back room. Like that's just how bad it was. And so my actual fire smoke, like no one even noticed. And I would take those lighters home and I would see how long I could use them at a period of time. And that's when I noticed that they would melt and like the little spring pieces would like shoot off because the plastic that held them in place would weaken as it melted and they would just like explode. Not like big fire explosion, you lost your hand like a firecracker. It was just like the top would just little ping right off.
You lost your hand.
I also learned how to manipulate the intensity of the fuel exposure. So if you wanted it to like burn bigger or smaller, I learned how to do that. And that silly old man fire trick where you light it and then you just like wave your fingers through the fire without getting burned. Like we used to do that stuff, and there was another kid. We'll call him Ethan. We got him to do it with his nose.
We'll call him Ethan. Because that was his name.
They'll call him Ethan, and we got him to do it with his nose, and he burned his nose. Fire, burn, yeah. Burn the corn.
The sky in this movie is crazy.
It's
like moving like nobody's business. Like,
well, okay, so that's
like,
I kind of thought
only
the demon
when people
was
look at it though.
Like, I thought the demon was in the sky, not in the corn. And it was just, like, above the corn or whatever. Because whenever we deal with the old man, and he's, like, he turns and he looks in the sky, and you can just see, like, all the clouds just point towards him.
Rushing by.
And it's like, all right, so he's, like, in the sky, right? And he's like, no, he walks behind the rows of corn. Like, this guy's got to pick something, all right? Like, is he going to be underground? Is he walking? Is he flying? Like, he ain't doing all three.
Yeah.
Like, pick something. And he just ended up being a blob.
Yeah. Which, I mean, they had $800,000 to make this movie. So, not a lot of money. But, yeah, the mechanics of the whatever this thing is supposed to be, I don't really understand.
Well, I don't think I'm going to, harp on it because of that.
No,
I just
because
think
you don't
it's-
have to understand. I mean, like, I I don't want to. Well, I'm in saying I don't want to bring it up. I'm basically bringing it up.
Yeah.
But the thing that Alan Wake says at the beginning that supposedly Stephen King says about the not having the answer thing. Yeah.
Well, I think of it more on the line of I don't hold this against it because I'm willing to accept that since they only had this budget, they were merely doing what they could cheaply that was still trying to be effective. But for the story purposes, if it was in the clouds, it's in the clouds. If it's in the ground, it's in the ground. And if it's behind the corn, it's behind the corn.
Yeah, and which is it?
Which is it? Like, I don't mind if it's one or the other, just be more precise. Because we're told something, but we're constantly shown other things. And I wonder, like, how much they recycled the same, like, sticks of corn. Like the corn husk rods. Like, oh yeah, the ones we used in the diner and we put in the car and we also put it in the police station. You know, we had to be quick so it didn't like deteriorate on us.
Well,
And it would be smart. I'm just wondering, like, how much money did they spend on corn?
I mean, corn doesn't cost much. And also they're like in fields of corn, so they can probably get a few husks, but although it has to be like kind of dried looking, so you can't just pull it right off the fields. What about his assessment of the weird folk art of the cross made of corn? Like, he's not nearly weirded out enough, I don't think, by like this cross made of corn. Because that's not a normal thing.
No.
You can find a couple of sticks if you don't have like a cross made of something like a manufactured one. Like, making it out of corn?
Yeah.
Like, that's
Well,
weird.
I don't think it's the cross that was the problem as much as it's just everything containing it. Because then you had like a corn person attached to it.
Yeah.
You know? It's very odd.
Corn
And-
Jesus?
Corn Jesus and another big red flag.
Yeah. A lot of red flags.
Lots.
Lots of red flags. So how do we feel about stars?
Two. I'd give it higher. I just get so angry at the I'm a doctor person.
I don't care so much about that.
Because
But-
he's dumb and he constantly makes mistakes to move the plot along.
I think I'll probably give it 2 also, but because most of it is just like, huh? And like, that was kind of dumb. And like, why are we doing these like, zoom on corn, zoom on corn, zoom on corn, zoom on corn? Like, there's, and it's at least 2 because I do like the after everyone's dead, but before they get to the town part. Like, I like that part. But then after, and I kind of like the end part. I like there's some intensity to the let's get this together and burn this thing. But then like the whole everything in between is not such a much.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I probably would have given it a 4 if they just didn't make him so dumb. Because every time I saw him on screen, he was just like, "What are you gonna screw up now? What are you gonna screw up now?"
Roger Ebert said, "By the end of Children of the Corn, the only thing moving behind the rows is the audience fleeing to the exits."
I don't really know if they're fleeing as much as they're just, I can't believe I paid $1.50.
He gave it 1 star, which is basically the same because he only gives out of 4. So it's not exactly the same. There's like a decimal involved to make it equivalent, but it's he didn't care much for it either. So.
He gave it a 25.
Yeah.
We gave it a 40.
Yeah, so not a whole Not a whole lot of difference here. TV Guide said it was lame.
Oh, well,
So,
I think I can agree with them more.
yeah, it's lame. It's pretty lame. Yeah, that's a pretty good word for it. It's lame. It's pretty lame. I don't know. Are the others more or less lame? Have you seen any of them?
No, I've not.
There's like 7 of them, I think, or something. There's a lot of them.
Kind of reminds me of like Hellraiser.
Yeah,
Just like-
none of those are good either after like the second
We're
one.
just
So
milking the shit out of this.
Yeah.
Please give us $1. I have to feed my children.
not very many dollars,
Of
it
the
turns
corn.
out. But yeah, well, I guess. So what about scariness?
1.
Yeah.
Like, my rage that was induced by this movie was scarier than anything in this movie.
I wasn't angry at it.
I
but
was.
It's not. I mean, I was a little sleepy, so maybe if I was less sleepy, I would have been more angry. But I don't remember being angry at it. I just didn't care very much.
I mean, like, I know I'm not out on the street, like, hunting for kids to kill. But at the same time, like, if I see some kid try to attack me with a sharp object, I'm gonna throat punch him and disarm them. And if they keep doing it, then I'm just ending it for them. Game over, man. And he's just, I can't, no, I'm being, kid attacked. What? Like, this is not scary at all. Like, the weird corn cult thingy crucifix, the corn Jesus.
Corn Jesus, yeah.
Is the closest thing to even being scary, or the one, Isaac, I'm the new cult leader now. Like, has this kid never eaten ice cream?
No.
Does he have a stepdad that beats him?
Probably.
Like, this kid isn't evil or scary. He just needs a hug.
Maybe.
I'm the leader. He speaks only to me. Well, you better tell him to speak up.
It doesn't seem like there's any speaking to anyone of any kind.
Yeah, we're gonna light this field on fire.
It's just like some weird blobby thing, and like sometimes it kills people, but didn't seem to be talking to anybody.
And I still have a dead body in the back of my car.
Yeah, well, they left the car there. They're gonna walk 18 miles.
I want to know why the lady, like, as if, like, okay, so I thought they trashed the car, but then they go back to the car. I don't know why they go back to the car, and then like that other girl's in the car, like hiding, getting ready to attack him at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And they knock her out, and then they walk, and I'm like, well, then if you're just gonna walk, like, you didn't take anything with you.
Yeah.
Like, they walked to the car, and then they just walked off.
Well, I guess they're planning to come back.
Well, like, I thought they were gonna
walk
take
to wherever, I can't remember the name of the town, and then they're gonna get a car there, and then they're gonna come back and get their stuff, because stuff is heavy, and it's, you don't want to carry heavy stuff.
They didn't
18
have a lot of
miles.
stuff. They had a body in like a briefcase. We get to see the back of their car.
Yeah. Well,
Like, if it looked like they were moving, like maybe
Yeah,
there was
I mean-
a chair attached to the roof of the
there
vehicle,
didn't seem to be a chair.
or like the back seat was like filled with boxes. Like, then I'd be like, okay, well, this makes a little more sense. But no, it was just an empty car with a dead body in it,
Yeah.
which makes it inherently less empty. But still,
It does do that. It does do that. That's all I have to say about children. Not a remake, although there is one. They made it for television, like just a few years ago, of like this first story.
oh wow,
I have not seen it. I don't know whether it is good or not. Probably more money,
yeah.
but that doesn't mean better. So we'll see you next time.
Later.
death by water.
I'll grab this crowbar and I'll shove it up your ass.